Joe Rogan said that wokeness killed comedy, and this caused a very interesting debate on Twitter with a lot of people that disagreed, but none of them actually gave a good example of a nice comedy movie which came out recently that many people would agree that, yeah, this is absolutely hilarious or it's incredibly funny. In fact, recently I've watched the previous seasons of South Park, and I gotta say I was laughing incredibly hard. And while the last seasons of South Park are also good and they're funny, they don't compare to how comedy used to be like back in the day. So why is it that wokeness killed comedy? Well, if you think about it, a lot of comedians have gotten into trouble because they weren't politically correct. Dave Chappelle is one of the last examples, which makes me assume that all these comedians are probably self-censoring a lot in order to make modern comedy. And anyone who watches anime can make a comparison between how funny some anime is today compared to whatever comes from Hollywood. Now, does this mean that people who are woke can't make comedy, or do they have their own version of comedy? And the answer is yes. I think we can actually classify what woke people consider to be funny into the following categories. Number one is the hateful, spiteful category. So the hateful, spiteful category would be a TV show like Santa Inc. This is a show which is incredibly hateful towards anything that has to do with Christmas, towards the spirit of Christmas. It covers all of the woke talking points. Santa is an evil, cisgender, capitalistic, heteronormative, patriarchal white man that just likes to keep women down. The whole spirit of Christmas is very bleak and dark. It's very corporate. And this show was considered to be a financial ruin. It was universally hated by everyone. And I guess like this is an attempt where progressives can do comedy. And you have other shows like this, but I would like to point out that this is the hateful category and it usually doesn't sell. But then there's the other category which does sell. And this one is going after the shock value. So the shock value was cemented by South Park, where you have these kids in a cartoon talking with the mouth of sailors, cursing every second, shocking the audience with the things that they were saying, as well as the actions that they were doing. And Has Been Hotel, Harley Quinn, Hell of a Boss, all of them follow the same formula. The characters are incredibly vulgar. They say things that are obscene. But unlike South Park, it fails to capitulate on this with the fact that all of these shows are politically correct. So they're never going to do something or say something that is incredibly outrageous, that actually pushes the bar. All of the things that the characters say are still within the limits and within the boundaries of Twitter's trust and safety. Which is very different to how South Park was back in the day, or how Jackass or how Beavis and Butthead used to be. All of these things were actually shaking the acceptable culture, and because of that, they managed to become cultural icons, which that are recognizable around the world even after so many years have passed. But still, I would say that the woke comedy that uses shock value is still better than the hateful type, and it actually does manage to sell. However, it's not as funny as it should be, and it definitely can't compete with previous comedies like South Park, for example, especially not the first seasons. And finally, woke humor has another category, which is the randomness, I would call it. So the random aspect is where you have things happening on the screen every second. The target audience seems to be people suffering from attention deficit disorder, because there is no way you can even have time to think while watching these cartoons, because the action moves very quickly. It's incredibly random. There's a lot of random humor going on. And, like, I guess this is supposed to be targeted for children, but unfortunately, most of the time they're targeting for adults. I mean, when I was a child, I guess a cartoon that like changes the setting every 3 and 4 seconds, and there's random things appearing all the time. Like maybe that could have been funny, but at my age, not so much. So maybe that can be successful for the young generation, but I think like the young generation watches anime at this point, which doesn't patronize them, and it's actually stimulating the brain by putting some decent plot in there. So yeah, I would say that out of all the three categories, the ones going for shock humor is the most popular. And the cartoons that I mentioned, like Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, even though they're very progressive and they're woke, and the people making them are progressive and woke, seem to have attracted an audience that is not necessarily filled with people that are far left. I know right-wingers who enjoy watching Hell of a Boss, and I know, and I think that shows that it's a success. I mean, this is what you want when you make a product. You want it to be engaging, and you want people to enjoy it regardless of their political affiliation. Like, you want the product to be neutral, to bring people together. And yeah, I do think that Hell of a Boss, as well as Has Been Hotel, has managed to do that. And it's very interesting that there are people on the far left who hate it. I mean, the reason that which is very bizarre, by the way, but the reason I had on Twitter from very far left individuals hate Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss is due to the fact that there are gay people in it. And this took me by surprise when I heard the argument. It's like, what? So the left is against representation now? And they were like, no. See, because the action takes place in hell, having gay people in hell means that it plays into the heteronormative, cisgender, patriarchal concept that gay people end up there. So, like very bizarre, but still, like, there were a significant amount of people from the far left criticizing it, to the point that I realized that, all right, so this is a very progressive cartoon, which has managed to get right-wingers and left-wingers to like it, but at the same time is also having right-wingers and left-wingers hated it. So this is, I guess, like the peak woke achievement. Like, this is the progressive achievement. Now, if you guys happen to know of any other type of comedy that progressives make and you enjoy, please do let me know. I mean, because I find the topic to be absolutely fascinating. And it does explain why I haven't seen a comedy movie in a long while. It's very sad, but it's true. I mean, the thing that I would recommend to people is to watch anime like the hero is overpowered, but incredibly cautious, or combatants have been dispatched. I mean, these two are really amazing animes, and I guarantee to you, you're going to laugh to tears. And then you're going to cry to tears because you're going to realize what the progressives have taken away from you when it comes to comedy. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.